3 minutes to minimum safe distance.
Stop. Not so fast, y'all. You think you can just up and run away? You crazy. I like to eat people from other planets. Especially y'all.
I like to eat you with my little mouth, too.
Oh, now y'all get back up inside me, little mouth.
I wants to play, too.
Get back inside. I'll get you when we's eating them.
Zoop.
9 billion names of pod.
From Atlanta,
where we dig s'mores, not spores.
it's the 9 Billion Names of Pod with Dan Bauman and Michael Reed. I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm the council planner for the new colony on Orgay 6. Looks like a pretty straightforward job.
So let's talk about some stuff.
Yes, Dan, let's do that.
Just moments ago, we exited the theater and we saw Alien Covenant. So we're going to spoil. If you haven't seen it yet, spoilers.
I mean, the goo is still fresh.
It sure is.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive in. What's your initial?
Act 1, slow as hell and boring as fuck.
A little bit.
Although it set up a few things that were needed for the third act.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's structured getting to the planet, Act 1. On the planet, Act 2.
Yep.
Back in the ship, Act 3.
Yep.
And we did say spoilers, right?
Yes.
Since it has acid for blood, kind of the only way you're going to survive is, well, say it with me now, folks, blowing it out the airlock. Not a lot of things you can do. Although they did it in a slightly more... They did it in a way.
Yeah, this was definitely more of an Alien film than the last one. This one definitely had the sense of Ridley Scott's Alien. It was very... I mean, I don't want to say it was similar, but it was... I mean, I don't want to say it was the same, but it was very similar.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't... Well, it certainly was enough of an Alien film to be an Alien film.
Yes.
And it also, by the fact that it has David and a bunch of plot stuff in it, it is very much a sequel to Prometheus.
That was my biggest concern. I was like, is this going to explain and or justify Prometheus?
Well, here's the thing.
Okay.
The number one thing that I wanted
Yeah.
for this film was for the ship with David and Shaw was for them to get to the engineer planet.
Yeah, it was.
Because, the fun stuff that would happen. Well, beware of what you ask for, because they got to the engineer planet. And I was happy to see that, much like here on Earth, maybe the first people you meet of a species may be these goddess-like Adonises. There are some pretty squat, ugly, what the fuck are these people looking like? The engineers are not all 8.5 feet tall, totally ripped, looking like gods on
right,
you know. There's a couple of 5'2" guys that are 300 pounds looking, going, oh, what's that over there? But let's go back to the beginning, shall we? All right, so it's the Covenant. We don't know why they're trying to colonize. We never know really why they're trying to colonize. They do it on LV-426. It's a shake and bake colony.
Yep.
Evidently
they've been doing it for a long time.
This is apparently, real estate is, pretty dear on Earth, and chances are, just based on what's going on in the Trump administration right now, that's right, I brought it back to Trump, we've completely just looted our planet of all its natural resources and polluted the shit out of it. So we kind of have to go out there. Otherwise, we're bathing in a soup of our own making.
Well, we're just stacked on top of each other.
Yeah,
is what it is.
Exactly. Like a virus. Agent Smith knew what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Just keep breeding and pop,
Yeah.
And
now here's a question.
Yeah.
It said it was the year 2104. Do we know when Alien was set?
You know what? That's the first thing I thought of when I saw the data. I went, oh man, I don't know the chronology of Alien that well.
because
Now here's the thing though. Ridley Scott's been talking about 1 to 2 more films in the Alien saga before he'll link it up to Alien, the one from '79.
Oh, really?
So,
well, okay. Well, we'll get to that because there are questions left unanswered.
There are questions.
Because my thought was it's got to be a ways before, because even if nothing else, Guy Pearce as Mr. Wayland,
right?
He's very old in Prometheus, which is kind of the whole point of it. And by the time we get to Alien, it's not just the Wayland Corporation; it's the Weyland-Yutani. So they've merged with someone else. So that's we know we're in the future somehow.
Right. So the thing that's interesting is the film begins with a prequel scene to Prometheus.
Yes,
the creation of David.
Yes,
because you see Wayland as
young-ish.
Guy Pearce. He could probably still pass for a solid 45. I'd put Wayland at probably early 60s, maybe late 50s.
And he's at that point where he's starting to ponder his own mortality.
Exactly. Just as David would go on to ponder what it is to be human and what it is to be master and servant. And boy, you think the synthetic in the first Alien film had a
Bishop,
mouth?
No, it wasn't Bishop. He was in Aliens.
Yeah, it's Aliens. I can't remember the name of the one.
It was Ian Holm, but I can't remember what his character was.
Yeah, Ian Holm's character. You think that's synthetic? He just went and killed a few people. David's malfunction is
evidently there's a flaw in these synthetics.
It's like, AI people, come on! It's
maybe they shouldn't film with milk. That's the problem with it.
Oh God, milk goes bad, folks.
That's right. That's what it is.
The milk goes bad.
The milk goes bad, Charlie.
Oh,
Murphy.
I think we just came up with the title for this episode.
There you
milk
go.
Goes bad. Okay,
I like it.
And we get to see Wayland. You're my creation, and of course in this white, well-lit, just very sterile environment, and
he's bringing David online for the first time, it seems. Yeah,
exactly. So you get that. You get the first. I guess he's the first synthetic, because the events in Alien are further along. Maybe maybe at some point they find out, this whole line, fuck this David/Walter line. Problems.
Yep.
So we're just going to cut it and start fresh. And guess what? That one has a problem too. You don't get a good synthetic really until Bishop.
Yeah.
Once you get to Bishop, you're like, okay.
He's all right.
Yeah. So basically, the conceit of the plot is that they're on a mission to colonize a planet that they have scanned the entire universe for. They have found it. And they're on their way. It's like 7.5 years to get there. So there's, what do they don't call it cryo sleep in this one. What do they call
hypersleep.
it? Hypersleep.
Yeah. And every now and again they didn't say exactly, but they have to stop and recharge the ship. Must be near a sun.
Correct. They have to put out the solar sails to collect
solar energy
and
power
stuff like
the ship, and that's every couple of whatever. It didn't say.
And because we can pretty much predict, and we have like is it like a 5-minute, 7-minute warning when there's a solar flare? Not to the dimension of what we had in Alien Covenant, but we know when they're coming and they're dangerous, and we can protect ourselves. And shut down equipment, or not let allow them the flare to disrupt things as much. Out there, who knows? The sun could be 10 times as powerful. So they had something called a neutrino blast, which is a result of a solar flare from the star they are passing, and it damages the ship, and they had to go outside to repair it, because I guess even in the future, you just pair of hands and a brain, you got to go out there and get the job
done. That's how they work,
And while he's outside there, was it Danny McBride's character? Very interesting casting. I was not sure how I'd like it, and you know what? Solid.
It was all great.
It's solid. Not bad at all.
I have some thoughts on that too, but carry on.
He picks up a transmission that is recorded. Now, first of all, hey, I got this transmission in my suit when I'm outside the ship, but when I'm inside this massive piece of machinery, somehow we couldn't get it. I don't get that.
He said they were outside of the comm range or something.
Like comm shielding or something. I'd like a little more explanation on that.
Yeah,
because,
okay. They're outside the MacGuffin range. Is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of MacGuffin in the beginning of this movie.
Guffin all over the place.
It was a MacGuffin blast that knocked the ship off.
Yes. So essentially, yeah, because well, I guess I don't know if you have solar sails out, would a neutrino blast actually physically?
I think they said it over. I think it like
overcharged,
overloaded the system.
Well, because there was like shaking and stuff,
and
like
it did
that.
like physically knock one of the sails out of line. And that's what they had to go out.
Because like you could stand in the middle of the Hadron Collider and it wouldn't knock you on your ass. It would burn a hole through you or totally cancer you right through the wherever you got hit with. But it's not going to be like a physically disruptive thing. It's a molecular. Well, but that's okay. Yep. I'm not Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah. Even though I play him on TV. And they accentuate, they enhance this recording and find out that it's Country Roads by John Denver. And of course, Danny McBride's character, called Tennessee, or T for short, he goes, I recognize that. And they trace the signal to a planet. They do a scan and go, wow, this planet's absolutely perfect for colonization. And the debate is, well, we already got a planet. Yeah, but this thing is like 2 weeks away.
And we're here.
And we're almost there, whereas Origay 6, which we've originally been going to, is
7 more years.
7 more years. And during the neutrino blast, the main character, I've already forgotten her name, Catherine Waterston. Daniel's husband, gets fried alive inside his hypersleep
Yeah, they lose
chamber.
a couple of crew members and some colonists when the ship gets overloaded.
Right. So no one's really eager to go back into hypersleep. So the decision is made with only her abstaining. Don't go to this planet. Everyone else is like, yeah, sure, let's give it a...
Let's see what's out there. Yeah.
So they go and they set down. The atmosphere is heavily ionized, a lot of storms.
Right.
They make it through, and now we begin the second act.
Now let me say a thing about character. First of all, the casting thing. Her husband, strangely enough, the captain of the ship, who was her husband, in a weird little cameo, James Franco.
Yeah, I was looking, going, is that James Franco? I didn't see him in the credits.
No.
Then after the event, I realized, like, of course, why would he be credited?
Yeah.
He's already dead 10 minutes into
dead, and he
the
has
film.
not flashback, but he's one little recorded bit that he had sent her rock climbing, and I was like, that's James Franco.
Yeah.
Now, character-wise, casting-wise, I didn't know too many of the actors. I knew Danny McBride.
Right. Catherine Waterston.
I just saw her. She was just in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Oh, really?
But, yeah.
Well done.
She's like the main character.
She's actually a pretty solid actress.
Yeah, she's really good. And I didn't, other than Michael Fassbender and Guy Pearce, I didn't recognize too many of the other casts, which is cool.
Me neither.
But one thing I did notice, which I thought was really interesting and really different from most movies like that, is, did you notice that most of the crew were coupled or married?
Right. That's the whole point, because they're a
family.
Right. We've never seen a ship that is a colonization ship. Now, we assume that was the same array that set down on LV-426 to terraform, couples, family. You don't sit there and get a whole bunch of people together like, all right, here we are to terraform.
Scientists.
You want to fucking make some babies?
Yeah.
And, you get them started on Earth, and then you send them on over. So that definitely changes the dynamic,
because it's almost like anti every other space movie, because it's always like, the illicit thing where people fall in love with each other on board, whereas this is just like, well, yeah, we're all together, and it's all well known, and it's part of the thing. It's not a fireable offense that's going to get them thrown off the ship.
Right. There's no Idris Elba being summoned to
to
Vickers' cabins like, all right, I'll prove to you that I'm not an android.
Yeah, so they kill the that whole trope, which I liked. I enjoyed that a lot. It's like, yeah, and did you notice the one couple was gay? The two.
Yes.
I was like, cool, not an issue, just a part of the deal.
Or as conservative mayor, why are you shoving it down our throats? I saw them on screen.
Yeah, they barely made it.
And that seeing them shoves it down your throat? Wow. You talk about...
But anyhow.
Yeah. All right, we're not talking
We're
politics.
not doing that.
And I think one couple was actually interracial, too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they were.
So...
It's funny how that is so far behind that we didn't even recognize
Exactly.
it.
It's like,
See, that's where we have to get to, people.
Really, the planet Earth, they're sending their best and brightest to colonize, and they send the gays and the mixed race. Oh my gosh, it's almost like we've gotten past that bullshit.
Yeah.
I like this future. Well, I like that aspect of this future.
Oh,
because here comes Act 2, motherfuckers.
Yeah, and Act 2 is where it goes sideways.
it
Yeah.
goes...
Never go down to the planet. Bad idea.
I just... Billy Cudrup, whatever your
Billy
name
Crudup, yeah.
Crudup. Oh.
Well, he was the de facto captain.
Right, after the hypersleep...
and not for nothing, that's a kind of a rough way to go if you're Franco. I mean, they couldn't get him out of the pod, and he burned alive in the pod. It's like, oh, that's...
It's like there was a chance they could have saved him. They couldn't get into the pod. They're trying to pry it open. They're trying to break the glass, and then it just
flamed up. Oh.
He just charbroiled.
Yeah, so Billy Crudup is thrown into the thing, and it was really interesting. They made a little nod to him being a man of faith and having religion. Like he didn't say too much about...
Well, that wasn't shoved down our throat. That was totally fine.
Right.
Which actually is true, because he was a man of faith. They didn't shove it down our throat, and it's like, fine, he's a man.
And it proves that, it makes a statement that in that future there are still people of faith. And
good.
For what it's worth, that's fine. That's good, too.
Oh, yeah. Faith's not a problem. It's the stupid things people
do with their faith. Right.
Yeah.
And he believed, and he decided to take a chance. Maybe this is, a sign. Maybe this is something we need to do. And it's such an interesting take, because it's like, what do you do? It's like you've planned and you planned, but here's the thing that looks too good to be true.
And human nature kicks in and says, 7 years and maybe get fried in your hyper chamber.
Yeah.
Or maybe 2 weeks and we go check it out. Maybe
if we're here.
And if it's not good, we continue on. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So they get down there.
Yep.
And of course the captain and all the command crew go. Of course, in this case, there's only 15 now. I'm going to say 14 when they get to the planet. Because they lost Franco and they lost some colonists, but no other crew members.
No other crew members, just the captain. Yeah.
So, and I think 5 people stay on board on the Covenant.
At least 3.
1, 2, 3, 4. No, 1, 2, 3. At least 3.
At least 3.
But a whole bunch of people go down there.
Yeah.
No. This is where my inner Neil deGrasse Tyson kicks in. You don't send down any robots, huh?
Yeah.
No synthetics.
You don't just send him down to take a look at him.
Just send Walter down.
Yeah.
Now, in case you don't know this, Walter is played by Michael Fassbender.
Yep.
So he is another model, a later model in the Hyperdyne. Well, maybe it's not Hyperdyne. Maybe the Hyperdyne ones.
Is that Hyperdyne? Wasn't that
that's
Terminator?
The one? That's the one from Alien.
Is it Alien?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought. I think Hyperdyne is Cyberdyne is Terminator. You might be
Hyperdyne, yeah, because I remember Bishop. Oh, they always were a bit twitchy.
Right.
So, but anyway, he is of the same lineage.
So evidently,
to speak.
when on these, makes sense, on these big long terraforming, 10-year voyages, they send a synthetic who doesn't need to sleep or get bored to maintain.
And
things.
if oxygen goes down too much or pressure's
something
lost
actually breaks,
and people all pass out, the synthetic can go, oh, okay, I'll fix that.
Instead of letting Mother or Hal, keep control of it.
Yeah, except now we've got Hal and inside the synthetic. I'm sorry, Captain. Yeah.
So they go down.
And what do they find first? Wheat.
Yeah.
They find wheat. Interesting.
Very interesting.
So at this point, we're wondering, what is this planet? We have no idea what this planet is. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's not. They're not picking up signs of life. So holy crap! I guess it's not the engineer planet. Okay, well then it's another planet, and there's wheat down there. Earth wheat.
Yep.
So how is Earth wheat there? Interesting.
Interesting.
Because, evolution states that, things progress and change and mutate over time. And to find something that did it exactly the same way on a planet thousands and thousands of light years away, or however it is, and Earth, that's a pretty big coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out, it seems like after Mr. Golden God Prometheus guy drinks the stuff, the aliens didn't just, float away. They maybe came back at some point and gave the humans wheat, or allowed, because if it's on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
that's the rub of this whole thing, is like, now I want to watch Prometheus again, damn it. And
well, if you don't mind just characters being created that don't do what humans would do.
Well, I'm not even that part doesn't matter to me. The plot point, it's the universe building. That's the stuff I want to go back and see what we're talking. Go back and see watch the beginning with the engineers, and then watch where we get.
Well,
to
because the LV, whatever the hell it was, number from Prometheus is a rock. We don't see any life on there aside from the amoebas that grow into the snakes, but I think that came off the shoes of the of the people, like little tiny 2-celled whatever organisms that were just part of your own biome that got hit by the goo, by the black goo, and became the little little tendril cobra worm, whatever it was. So, and here's where we get a brand new thing we've never had in any alien film before.
Mm-hmm.
We get the spores,
yes.
the pods. You're traipsing along, everything's fine. Oh, look, there's wheat, there's trees. Oh, look, the trees have been cut down. Something crashed way up there. We're going to go there. And on the way, they step on some spores.
Yep.
In one case, a guy's taking... He says he's going to go take a leak, but I guess he just wants to sit down and have a cigarette. And then this motherfucker throws the butt onto... I'm like,
alien
dude,
planet.
have you learned nothing from what happened on Earth? Good God. I'm surprised smoking is still a thing in the future. I mean, oh, God.
Hey, if religion's still a thing.
You know what? Good point.
We don't learn. So
we don't learn. It's like, but it feels so good. And the spores, in one case, coagulate in the air and looks like they're almost sentient.
Yeah.
And kind of like, it looks like a herd of nanobots. They're not nanobots.
They're not.
It's an organic
spore,
thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And they work together.
Yep.
And they go into the guy's ear canal, and you think, oh my God, it's going to hit the brain. No, it finds a tiny little lesion in the ear canal and goes right into the guy's system.
Yep.
And you go, this probably won't end well for him.
Oh, so it's going to be you who died first.
Yeah, but he just, scratches his ear and goes, yeah, I'm coming, and everything seems to be fine. Another guy steps on it, and it goes up his nose.
Yeah, he breathes it in.
Breathes in the spores through his nose. So you're like, okay.
So where they find that is the big giant horseshoe ship from Prometheus.
Right. Well, they don't know they don't know.
Well, they don't know what it is.
They
but
don't
we
know what
do.
it is yet.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we don't know either because the ships are all the same. They look the same. Because
but it is one of those.
It's one of those, exactly. Yes. Yeah, because remember the one that crashed is identical to the one they ended up taking.
Yeah.
So there are other ships.
Yes.
So, and they
explore.
They explore, and I'm looking. I thought maybe he had been there for a long, long time because moss and things had grown, water had, it looked like the ship had been there for centuries.
10 years is what they said.
10 years, exactly.
And that was a little too little for me. I 50 would have been.
Yeah, but I think they were constrained by the timeline and by when Alien, the date of Alien.
Yep.
So they go, I'd love to do 50. I can only give you 10 because we got these two movies we got to fit in and we got to make it work in the timeline.
I know, I get all that.
So I can understand that conceit. And who says the rate of growth and decay on this planet is the same as on Earth just because we can breathe the atmosphere?
Anyway.
So they get there and one of the guys gets sick.
Yep.
You know,
Well, they find the engineer, like the ship control room,
right,
which is
and,
where the signal has been coming from.
and they see the hologram recording of Shaw at the helm or at working the controls, and then all of a sudden the sickness, and they got to get the heck out of there, and one of them makes it back to the ship, and the other does not.
One of
the infected crew members.
Yes. The first guy in the ear, makes it back to the ship, and he's in the med bay when all of a sudden real bad stuff starts happening.
Oh, the real bad stuff.
And it was a nice little twist.
Now this is interesting because this is, and we will explain why this is later, because it's explained or it's shown. Mm-hmm. This is the first time it hasn't been a face hugger that gets you.
Yes.
Or the ingestion of the oil.
Right.
This is something completely different. There's a reason for that. We will explain that later.
Yes.
One guy dies and a creature pops out of it, which looks, somewhat alienish.
Well, it looks like the alien at the end of Prometheus. It's got the pointy head in the back.
The Deacon.
The Deacon, is that what it's called?
That's the name of the character.
Okay.
Well, that version of the alien is called the Deacon.
Okay, well, that's kind of what we've got. It's not exactly that, because it's probably not the goo. It's probably the because it's the spores. So
it's the spore.
I like that. I like the fact.
And we'll find out is that the black goo is highly mutatable.
Yes.
It's because remember, the alien that comes out of an engineer is different than the one that comes out of a human, which is the different one that comes out of a dog.
If you
acknowledge
such things, yeah.
So
and I did like I did like the fact that it because it was different, it was spore, and it went in the guy's ear, it didn't burst out of his chest.
Right. Well, no, it did.
No, it burst out of the guy's back.
Okay. His back chest.
Yeah.
It was bursting, but it.
And then the other guy, it didn't burst out of anywhere.
It came out of his mouth.
Out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So apparently, it just finds a nice warm spot wherever it can,
and just goes.
I mean, thank God it didn't find its way down to his
down
to his testicles. That's a nice warm place to hang out.
No, sir.
I don't want to see what kind of alien comes out of there.
Nope.
That'd be painful. So they shoot at the thing when it comes out, and they get back to the ship, and at this point they know something's up, and the woman takes the other guy directly to the med bay.
Yep.
And locks him in with the captain, the new cat. No,
it wasn't the captain.
It was
the captain's wife.
The captain. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It wasn't Tennessee's wife. It was
the captain's wife. But that was Tennessee's wife who locked them in.
Exactly. Yeah. And of course, then the thing came out of the mouth, and they end up they don't end up killing that. It actually escapes.
No, they both got out. Yeah, it escaped. The med bay goes sideways because she finally goes in there with a weapon, and it's the little Deacon alien was running around, and she started shooting at it and trying to get away from it, and ended up shooting a hole in something that exploded on their lander. And the other one just kind of ran off into the one that came out of the guy's mouth, just ran off into the woods.
Right.
So there's two of these things running around.
Right.
Now.
So basically, the rest of the crew is coming back from the ship with the first infected guy. No, the second infected guy. The first guy is already there. This has already happened. So as they're approaching the lander, the whole thing blows up.
Yes.
And you're like, oh my God, they're stranded. Oh crap! And it's somebody else, and that's when the events of the bursting out the back happens. And the creature gets away, because remember the pod blows up first, the lander blows up first, and they're like, oh, we're trapped, and oh my God, now there's another creature that's bursted out of this guy. So it's all very bad, and they think they're safe for a little bit, and then it comes back, and then all of a sudden there's this massive blinding light, like Gandalf the White has come back from whatever elvish realm he went to.
Yeah.
And it's a hooded cloak figure. And you're thinking, it's probably going to be David.
Yep. I was like, hey, it's his character from Assassin's Creed coming to, because it was Fassbender in a cloak with a hood.
Worst crossover ever.
Yeah, this doesn't make any sense at all.
and they lead him. He leads them to this massive fucking citadel. I'm sorry. If you could scan a planet for life forms and air, you wouldn't detect a massive building structure? I got a problem with that.
I'll link it up to the storm.
Okay. That's it covers all sins.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's justifiable at least.
Right. So we discover that it's, oh my gosh, there's a major, installation.
City, yeah.
It's a city. And as they're following this cloaked figure, which is revealed as David later, they go through basically a garden of bodies.
Yeah.
And they're human. You look at them, you're like, those are humans. Huh. Was this a breeding place? What's going on?
It looks kind of like Pompeii. I mean,
exactly. Like, literally, they're all blackened and, like...
frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah, dead.
Exactly. Well, we find out why later on.
Yes.
But for now, it's just like, oh, let's go through this creepy cemetery where nobody's buried and everyone's frozen in place.
Yep.
And, of course, it's revealed to be David. They crash landed here. Elizabeth Shaw died in the crash. And we find out that the payload, remember, all the ships on LV Blabbity Blah from Prometheus had the black goo in them.
Yep.
And the payload accidentally released itself on this planet when they docked. I thought, well, maybe he didn't know everything about the alien technology. Maybe they're, maybe he forgot to do a little click box on the on the software and say, do you want to destroy all life on this planet? Yes or no? Forgot to click no.
Yeah.
And boom. So apparently, that's what's happened on this planet. You want to take it from here? I'm yakking an awful lot.
No, go.
We find out, well, let's not skip quite that far yet. We find out that David's been here for 10 years. Yep. He's been studying the ecosystem. He's been, idle hands with the devil's work.
And he has a nice little tete-a-tete with Walter and and they kind of go back and forth. And you can kind of tell there's something that David, he's different than Walter. Walter is very emotionless.
He's more mono, and David is stereo.
Yeah, David is more human in a way. He's,
well,
in a way that he's more expressive, and he's not as one note. He's not as business. And,
not as monotone. Not as
you get to notice that, or he explains how they took the creativity out of the subsequent models.
Right.
He's not even allowed to create a tune, on a musical instrument. He doesn't know how.
Which, let's face it, creativity is part of independent thought.
Yep.
So if you take that out, you might stop the rise of the machines for another 100 years.
Right.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because we as humans are, we've been predicting this since the 50s. And, it could never happen here.
No. It's going to happen.
It's happening.
It's going to happen.
Hawking and everyone says, we shouldn't be reaching out for alien life. We're not going to like it if anyone replies. No. We're going to continue reaching out.
And we shouldn't teach machines to think independently.
Well, as we slowly subcontract out our humanity and our basic... I can't do math anymore because I have a calculator.
Yeah.
My spelling sucks because of spell check.
And eventually that'll be implanted into us.
No
and
shit.
The singularity will happen.
Exactly.
Cyborgs.
And then I will enter Reddit. I have some debts to settle. And there's this very weird, almost brotherly, but maybe a little something more going on with the flute. Teaching Walter to play the flute.
Yep.
And which is interesting because we remember that the flute is kind of how is part of the operation of the engineer ship.
Kid didn't remember that.
Remember that? The little you know, almost like Willy Wonka opening up the door to the chocolate room.
Yeah, yes.
We remember what happened to the
bad things happen.
Bad thing happens in the chocolate room.
Yeah.
And what happened after that? I think that's the same scene where Walter goes, the payload didn't accidentally.
Yeah.
And apparently, I don't know how long it took him to get from the end of Prometheus to arriving at the engineer planet. Obviously within 10 years. But when he got there, David decided, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to deploy the black goo on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
This apparently was the engineer planet, because there is a scene where they look up and apparently
they're welcoming a ship. It's like, hey, a ship's come back.
So that tells me that either this is something that happens very rarely, or a ship coming back is a cause for celebration.
Or that ship in particular.
Or maybe they're able to read like, oh, it's that ship.
It's Bob's ship.
Oh,
and
it's been 2,000 years, and now it's back.
Good, he's here to report. You know, let's celebrate.
And what we see is he just releases all the black goo, well, minus a number of canisters, which he hangs onto. And basically, you think getting a tiny drop of it in your coffee fucks you up and turns you into a psychoactive.
Yeah, when you drop it from the sky.
Yeah, basically it's like taking chocolate rain. Yeah. You didn't think I'd go there. I went there. They're covered in it, and that explains why literally as soon as it hit them, it just destroyed it. It didn't even mutate them. It was so much, it overwhelmed their DNA. Couldn't even rewrite it. It just almost like it carbonized them.
Yeah.
But once it's on the planet, people are running, and it took care of all the life on the planet, which had been noted by Daniels.
Yeah,
like, can you hear
no
that?
No birds, no insects,
nothing. Because it doesn't affect
plant life.
Yeah, it only meat.
Yeah,
he said it in the film. The meat.
Yeah,
and it affects different animals in different ways. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that they weren't attacked by 10,000 things. I mean, but who knows what the ecosystem of the engineer planet was before.
Right.
But we see from some of David's drawings, they had flies, they had mosquitoes, they had other stuff that apparently, didn't interact with the people from the Covenant. Mm-hmm. And it basically just rewrote everything's DNA. And of course, it takes you to your most savage, horrible, mutated, fucked up way there is.
Yeah. And it was fast too. I mean, it just wiped out everything, and David just kind of watched as it happened.
Yeah. And I hate that, because thank you, Ridley Scott. You did what I asked. I wanted them to go to the engineer planet, and they did. I wanted them to talk to the engineers and find out, like, no, fuck it. We're going to basically,
nuke the site from orbit.
We're going to nuke it from orbit, and, or from, 100 feet up or whatever it seems. Yep. We'll just drop the black goo, and y'all can go eat a bag of dicks.
Yeah,
bye, engineers.
That's kind of what he did, yeah.
And some of those engineers, they're not all golden gods, man.
No.
There's yeah. They really skimped on the
a little bit
on the making them all look like a race of gods budget there.
Yeah,
but maybe it's just like, not everyone could be a part of the SEAL Team 6,
and there might be different races too. We don't know that, or different castes or whatever. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe there's still a possibility that this thing can flash back to the engineer planet before it got nuked by prologues like they had.
That would be, because that's what I really wanted. I wanted that to be this film.
Yeah, I know.
Shaw. But when I heard that Naomi Rapace it was not going to be in the film, I went, okay, well, that either means they're not going to the engineer planet, or there's some twist I'm not aware of.
Well, I like what they did with that.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's the twist.
Yeah, here's the twist.
Yeah. Shaw made it to the planet.
Yep.
Shaw did not die in quote unquote the crash.
No.
Apparently, part of David's plan was to start experimenting and breeding, and he can't find any other uncontaminated life forms because he's gooed them all.
Yep.
So he turned on Shaw, and he
Experimented.
He experimented on Shaw, and we get a scene of a very well done likeness of her.
Yep.
Now, remember what we posted online? They released that prologue of the head being sewn back on. I'm guessing that is an outtake from Prometheus. Unless she was willing to come back and do that tiny little bit, maybe I don't know.
But it wasn't in the film. That's the
well, no,
interesting
it could have been. Who knows what? I mean, you know what they shoot.
No, I mean in this film,
right?
They didn't put it in.
They did not put it in there, so they just released it as an online extra,
prologue, which is very interesting.
Which makes me wonder. I need to check my Prometheus Blu-ray. Is that a scene on there that I did not see? I thought I'd watched all the.
There was a lot of deleted scenes. If you go on YouTube, there's a lot of deleted scenes from that movie. There's a lot of scenes with the engineers,
and there should have been a few more deleted scenes.
Well, yeah. But there's a lot of stuff that explains a lot more. But I don't know if that one was one of them.
Yeah.
So, did you notice? So you see,
you pointed something in David's room. I did not catch it soon enough.
Okay.
What did you point? It's a drawing of something.
They were, in his little workshop where he was showing where the body basically of Shaw is and all his weird experiments. On the wall there is a sketch of a face hugger. And under that, there was a sketch of a xenomorph, like right in the corner, right hanging on the wall, just like, this is what we're doing, and he's like, this is what it's going to be, and his little plan. And so he takes the captain. He's like, I want to show you something, and he walks him down the stairs, and there in the basement are the big old alien eggs.
Yep.
So now we know where they came from.
Yes, that's
and they were dormant.
Well, of course, because they can be
no
dormant
host.
there for years and years and years.
Who knows how long?
Yeah. Well, we know that from what was it? Aliens. That the ship that they came across in Alien had them already dormant, and then right after Ripley is found, after 90 some odd years, 80, 68, I can't remember how many years of hypersleep. The events right before they said, hey, we need to go back because there's a problem there.
Right.
That's when Newt and her family found. So those eggs apparently can chill for a long time.
Yeah, they're eggs,
and I think that is perfectly safe.
Yeah.
Good. Have a look.
Have a look.
And I'm just like, oh,
here we
gosh.
go.
And this had a few good lines from David.
Yeah.
So now it's official. David is fucking evil.
Oh yeah.
David has gone rogue. Kind of like
he's trying to get rid of people.
He's got daddy issues.
He's got way.
Issues. Does he have daddy issues?
Daddy issues.
And there's a scene just prior to that where a crew member is killed by the one xenomorph that popped out of the crew member in the field.
Yeah,
and
which is huge.
It's huge, and it's beautiful in a way.
The one thing I notice about, not to jump ahead, the one thing I notice.
We're jumping all over the place.
But one thing I notice about this it's kind of the way we used to describe Batman, which is not quite as scary in the daylight. When you can kind of actually see what it is, like the xenomorph, it's it's a little too. At times, it's a little too bipedal. You can kind of see that how it's so, which is fine. When Cameron did Aliens, they specifically shot it from weird angles. And
they only had like 3 or 4 people in actual suits,
right? But they didn't linger on them too long, so you never got a really good look at them. I mean, you obviously could see the H.R. Giger stuff, but I mean,
when they were flipping through some of the drawings, I went, it's like they went to the Giger outtakes and went like, ooh, there's one.
We'll take one.
Man, I tell you, if he had flipped it over and it had been the Dead Kennedys Frankenchrist album cover, I would have because they used a Giger picture.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, and they got them like taken to court over it. I would have loved that. But of course that would have been
Right.
totally
Right.
not. Although it would have been accurate in the timeline because Dead Kennedys were much, if you can still have
John Denver,
you can still have John
and
Denver.
Phantom of the Opera they mentioned too.
Exactly.
So it's our human timeline with
That's
our,
right.
our references. Now,
Not as old as Wagner.
Right, and you have Wagner as well. But so we get to see that white gooey alien,
Right.
and here's the very interesting part of it was that David, I don't know if he could control it.
Well, David is not a real. It couldn't host in it. It couldn't
Right.
feed off of it. There's nothing there for the alien to achieve.
Right.
So it's kind of looking at it, and David makes a comment. If you breathe on a horse's nostrils, they will. They'll be yours.
Yeah.
The key is to get close enough to do it.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the captain, Billy C,
Yeah.
because I can't pronounce his last name properly, is back there with a laser sight right on the chest. But the alien's not even paying attention. It's fixed on David.
Yeah.
And we've seen from the previous, like its whole head is almost like a ball, but when it opens its mouth, it's like
It's all mouth.
it's like half the head becomes a mouth.
Yeah.
And you're almost getting a twinge of that alien resurrection thing where it's like, I see the human in you just a touch. Just like, oh, maybe they're going to introduce a good alien. Because at this point, you're not quite sure. I mean, I don't think it's been established yet. No, it hasn't been established yet that David is evil. We haven't quite got there at this point.
Not at that point.
Not at
no.
that point. So I'm
No.
thinking, maybe Dave, maybe this will be the first thing that we can talk, because it looked like he was trying to communicate.
Yep.
I went, oh my God, because we've never had communication with the alien. It's
Right,
always
and-
been like, I will kill you, and I'm killing you.
Yeah.
There's no like, we demand your surrender your innards and your
Mm-hmm.
tasty victuals inside you. I want to crawl inside your ass.
And it's interesting because David, like when Crudo starts shooting at it, David freaks out. No, don't do it. Because can you imagine, like, he's got no, it's all theory at this point, what he's trying
Right.
to do. And now it finally,
Right.
his experiment has come to fruition, and he doesn't get to,
study it
Study it.
and figure it out. Exactly. And of course he's been on this planet without any human or any evolved hosts. I mean, because when you drop the black goo,
that's it.
you pretty much knock out all the, apparently all the engineers
Yeah, he
all
only-
lived in one city on this planet.
He only had
apparently.
her to work with.
Exactly. And he exhausted her.
Creepy.
Yeah, well, with your guts splayed open and everything. Yeah. Oh, poor Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very upset.
Yeah.
That the creature got. At that point, I was like, this is a little bit of what's the island of Dr. Moreau
Yeah.
going on there?
Oh, yeah.
Where you're just like, he's a little too upset that this thing that's killed a number of the
Kind of bit that girl's head off.
Yeah, exactly.
Floating in the
And
tub.
here's the thing: the white goo alien
Yeah.
just was chewing down, feeding on her.
Yeah.
We have never seen that before, have we?
I don't think so. See,
It's always been like, I kill you and move on. I'm trying to kill everything.
Well,
or
I kill some of them and then
take the rest for
hosts.
implantation.
Yeah, and put them in the,
like
in the
we
webbing.
goo, right, you web it, you goo them up, and then you
Yeah.
put the pod in front of it, and eventually the pod goes, oh, over there? Okay, Mom, thanks.
Right.
And, it's
And
time.
this is a different
Exactly. And that's what...
phylum or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's what makes the black goo so fascinating.
Well, I think what they're inferring is that the black goo is just life in general. That's what creates life in the universe, is this black goo. And David was able to manipulate it, like to use it as an experiment. Like it's the spark of life.
Like maybe the engineers, they seeded life throughout the universe using the black goo in a way, in a concentration, in an amount.
Doesn't it like become from them? Isn't in the I'm trying to remember the very beginning of the Prometheus. Like they either infect one of them with it,
No.
or
He takes a canister.
Right.
It's like a ceremony, and there's
Yeah.
an outtake where there used to be a bunch of them. honoring this guy because he's sacrificing himself to
That's what I mean.
to seed life.
Yeah.
He drinks it and it breaks down his DNA and seeds it in.
Right.
And it, it rearranges itself based upon the environment that it's in.
Right.
So, which basically is evolution, because we're supposed to have come from the water. Well, the engineer, went into the water, and who knows, 400,000 million years later, up pops, God knows what.
Yeah.
It's not like, you drink it and you're like, I'm a monster now.
Right.
That's not what it is. This stuff is very...
It's interesting.
It's very fungible,
Yeah.
which is good because they can use it in different ways in the upcoming films, where it all makes sense because it's the black goo. It reacts differently when it comes in contact. Remember, a tiny little worm becomes this hissing hydra thing.
Well, and within within a few minutes, it was bursting out of his back.
Right, and that's the other thing.
And then
this was a quick gestation. Very
and
quick.
Then it quintupled in size in a matter of hours. It was a
Right.
little,
and even the creature that came out of the captain.
Yeah.
That was quick.
Yeah.
Because usually, it was on there for like a day and then it fell off and died. And then, I'm feeling okay. And then, this was like, and ding, timer's up 20 minutes and now it's time for Xenomorph.
Yep.
Goes great with the butter sauce. So take it away for Act 3.
So Act 3 begins. Well, I guess
We'll wrap up Act 2.
Wrap up Act 2. You start to realize David's crazy and he's manipulating. He created the Xenomorphs.
He wants to be God.
Yes.
And with the black goo, he can be God.
Right. And he is.
And remember, the engineers have come up with the black goo, or harnessed it from, and theoretically the black goo mixed with their own DNA is how we came about. So in certain concentrations and environments with the right catalyst, it doesn't become necessarily, I mean, I'd be willing to say that we're just as bad as xenomorphs. We're just not as visceral, tear your throat out.
Yeah.
We're more like, we're catty and bitchy.
Yeah.
And, we're Trump.
So David basically is trying to create the perfect organism,
Right.
which is what the xenomorphs are. I mean, even in later films, Bishop or it might have been Ian Holm said, it's the perfect organism. It has acid for blood. It's unkillable or whatever.
No,
And-
it's totally killable.
Well, totally killable. But that's what he's doing. He's trying to create the perfect life.
Basically, what David is doing is exactly what the company wants to do on a much larger scale. David's doing it just for, at least on that planet, for intellectual curiosity.
Yeah.
Now, of course, when you're presented with a bunch of new hosts, you're like, ooh, maybe I could do something else. And he can.
Yeah. So basically, they figure out shit's going down, so they've got to get off the planet.
Right.
And they're losing people left and right. And
none of them are aware that David is evil.
Right.
None of them know about it.
Right. And so Danny McBride, who has been slowly edging the ship closer and closer to the storm to try to establish communication with his wife, finally gets the call. She didn't make it.
Yeah.
And fuck, we need you. Get down here. Get us out of here.
Right.
So he gets the load machine and
Part of the terraforming.
terraforming.
or
It's a big old crane.
it's like
platform.
a bulldozer crane.
Yeah, it's
mixed-
kind of retrofits it and gets it and jumps on down and goes down to the
And he gets it.
And gets it
and
he
of course, because it's Alien, hey, we're gonna climb on board the ship. And
yeah.
and
Well, we
on,
get
on the outside of the ship.
Yep. Even before that, we're trying to get out, and Walter realizes that David is evil, and they go toe to toe.
Yep.
And
But of course, at this point, David has cut and dyed his hair so he looks just like Walter.
Yep.
Because David, when we see him, has long blonde hair.
Yep.
He is not he's not the perfect Aryan specimen
No.
that he was in Prometheus. And basically, Walter is just with darker hair,
Yes.
for the most part.
So he basically makes himself look exactly like
Yeah.
Walter.
And they fight.
Which is a little suspect right off the bat.
Yeah, well...
There's your first sign, kids.
But then they fight, and one of them dies.
Well, first of all, yeah, he...
But you don't know which one.
Yeah.
Which one is it, you know?
Well, at first, David cuts Walter's throat. Like, he kisses him, which was very weird. And then...
No, he pulls out a...
he did something to him.
Pulls out like a community... like a...
He rips his throat out or something, and, you know... basically kills Walter.
Well, because he knows how to deactivate. Because notice how he collapses into this like lotus fetal position.
Yeah, a transportable, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
He folds him up and puts him away.
Yeah.
And
pulls the handle out of his head.
Exactly. And so you know what's going on, and then David is going after them, and Walter pops back up and says, yeah, there's been some upgrades too, which was great.
Yep.
Which was great. So they start fighting while the ship is coming down to extract them.
Right.
And there's only 2 of them left at that point.
Yeah, that's right.
There's Captain Waters, there's Daniels, and the Spanish-ish guy. I didn't catch his.
I think that's the husband of the cute dark haired girl.
No, that's the husband of the guy who died. That's
is
it?
it?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
I believe so. The guy who vomited up the xenomorph.
Oh, delicious.
Yeah.
Never eat at Taco Bell.
Taco Bell.
So they get off, the 2 humans and
Walter.
They get on the ship, and of course the xenomorph jumps and tries to get in,
and they have to shoot it, and there's a big fight on the outside. They burn it, and they shoot it off, and they knock it off,
and they capture it in the crane.
Yeah,
very reminiscent of "Get Away from Her, You Bitch."
Yeah, the loader.
I'm like going like, ooh. I tell you, if Daniels comes out walking on there with a payload, I'm like, I'm gonna call bullshit, because that would not be on the outside.
But again,
of the
they also had the heroine of the movie in a tank top, shooting a gun.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna get to that.
I like that.
And as soon as I saw her, probably braless in a tank top shooting up, are they grooming Catherine Waterston to be like
the next Ripley?
The Ripley of the rest of the Prometheus films? Okay, she acquitted herself very well.
Yep.
I still want my final Ripley film done properly, but okay, this is fine. So they get rid of the xenomorph,
and they get back onto.
They get back up to the Sulak. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The Covenant.
And they're like, okay, well, we've learned our lesson. We're gonna go ahead and head back there, and something's happened.
Well, evidently the other guy who got the face hugger.
But remember, it got cut off really quickly.
Really quickly.
So there was like, okay, it's possible, because it was on there less than 10 seconds, and he cut it off, got some acid, but that thing came off really quickly.
Yeah, and
that told me, that's a little too quick, because usually,
it's
you try to cut it, it starts choking it.
Yeah.
I mean, they've but I'm like, okay, maybe.
But evidently it
implanted its if you're ready to shoot your alien load down
your egg or whatever it is.
Yeah. Anyway,
takes him out in the med bay.
Yeah, and so now we're back to Alien.
We're back to Alien,
except now there's a few more people on board.
Yep.
But we have the aforementioned, tank top with a gun going there. And they go through a whole bunch of stuff, and more people die, and they blow it out the airlock. This time with a big heavy machinery coming out the airlock that pierces it.
Yeah.
As it sends it over. So there's no like, I'm going to fly or I'm going to make my way back. It's pierced on the front of this heavy earth moving machine, or
yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like a bulldozer.
Or a gay 6 moving machine. Well, because it's not Earth.
Yeah.
And falls back down to the planet, and now we're all safe.
Yes.
Oh, thank God.
Yes.
Okay.
Danny McBride makes it. Catherine Waterston makes it. Walter makes
it. That's it. And all the while, I'm thinking, is this... No. All right. It's...
No, I knew the whole time.
I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. It's like, I need you to do all this stuff to get rid of the xenomorph. And Walter did it. I went, okay. Well, maybe it is Walter. that's kind of a boring third act. If they no, it's David.
Yeah, it's David. It's David the whole time.
It's
And
David because he had
he
a
has
much better plan
plan.
than just one xenomorph. He puts Danny McBride in. He goes to sleep. He puts Catherine Waterston in there. And just before whatever makes you just zonk out to go to sleep, she goes, "Will you help me build my cabin by the lake?" And
he doesn't know what she's talking about.
Doesn't get a reaction. Like, the cabin. Oh, my God, David. Like, don't let the bed bugs bite.
And then
there was a couple of like, really?
Really,
you're going to come with those Schwarzenegger
yeah, that
one-offs?
was...
I expect Jury Orbach to pop out and go, dun-dun,
Yeah.
And she's like, and then she's overcome by the hypersleep.
Yep.
And you think, oh, wow.
Oh, dear.
But hold it. So, they're in hyperspace. There's no aliens?
Right, those eggs. That's what I was thinking. I was like, man, those eggs are huge. There's no way he got
the eggs
on
are
there.
huge, and I don't see him with the vials.
Yeah, he didn't throw anything on the ship. He didn't bring anything with him.
Right.
I was like, okay.
So I'm like, so he's going to go back to the planet? What's he going to do?
Yeah, that's what my thought. I was like, he's going to turn around.
Yeah.
And
but he goes
change
back,
course.
He goes to the little tray of human embryos, opens up the drawer, and vomits up a couple of alien
facehugger eggs
and puts them in the thing for stasis.
Yeah.
And apparently he's going to start his experiments all over again on Origay 6.
Yep.
Because the film ends with him opening to the bay where all the colonists are in a different kind of long-term hypersleep, and the lights keep blinking, and you see human face. So there's like, what did they say, 2,000 colonists?
Something like that, yeah.
That's a lot of meat.
That's a lot of meat. And he has Mother play the gods entering Valhalla. From
Remember,
Wagner.
nothing happens in a film that is not on purpose.
Yes.
There's a reason that you see.
If they show you that gun,
right?
Hitchcock taught us that.
Yeah, that gun better be used.
It will be used. Yeah.
Or there better be a damn good reason why it's not used. There's a reason for it to be shown.
Yes.
And that's how we end it with. Now it's not going to Earth, so we're okay.
Yeah. Now,
is he going to create the planet of Dr. Moreau? Is that what he's looking to do?
Here's the questions I have.
Okay.
The biggest problem I have with I had with Prometheus and with this, the connection to when we finally do get to LV-426.
Right.
On LV-426, there was one of those ships, one of the big horseshoe ships.
Correct.
That's where we have to get to. How does we get?
We could that ship could have already been crashed when Prometheus happened. Remember, there's multiple ships,
but they don't have the alien eggs. David developed those eggs, the big eggs with the facehuggers in them.
Do we know that he developed them?
Yeah, basically he created those. That's, I think, what the inference is, that through his tinkering, he creates the aliens and he creates the eggs and the facehuggers. That's what I got from
That's a good question.
How do we? So if he's doing 2 more movies or they're doing 2 more movies,
then there's definitely must be other engineer outposts, because you got to get another working engineer ship to crash on LV-426.
Right. We're
okay.
closer. We're definitely closer to where we were.
But damn it! I wanted a film that was at least 50% engineer culture and why, and just But you know what? Nothing they could have done would have been worth. You know what I mean? It's.
I think from a bottom line standpoint, the studio was probably like, no one wants to see that.
That's
Get
true.
to the aliens.
That's true. It's like,
that was the biggest complaint about the first one.
But George, no one wants to see Galactic Council trade and endless debate in the Galactic Senate. No, trust me. I know. Like, yeah, I know. So I get that.
Yeah.
But I was definitely on Shaw's tip in Prometheus. Like, I want to know. I want the engine to go, oh, yeah, it's like a sport thing we do. We just go off and jerk our DNA off on other planets and come back in 10,000 years. Our life cycle is like 2 million of your years, so come back. Hey, remember that planet?
It's a thing we do.
Yeah, and like, oh, so we're just like basically your offhand recreation. Like, yeah. Basically, like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you're our little garden that we created.
Yeah,
we tended. You're our little window box that we make.
I can see the engineer looking down at Shaw, going, "What, is that not exciting enough? Okay, rawr, gonna run after after you and burst after you. What do you want from us? You know? So I understand. I understand. It is a Ridley Scott, son of a bitch. Everyone said they better go to the engineer plan. Like, oh yeah,
We'll go.
We'll go. And we're going to fuck it up the minute we get there.
Yep. Now, again, we don't know that this is the original engineer planet. We don't know this. There are more engineers, or we don't know.
That is true. That could be another outpost that was populated by, just because they didn't do their bioweapons research where the population is. It's like we don't test our nuclear weapons in the heart of Los Angeles. Yeah, but we should do it in the heart of D.C. But that's a whole nother story. We go to some completely uninhabited, or we kick the native. We kick the brown people off there because we're whites and we're awful, awful, awful versions of humans.
Right.
And so they have the option to go to just some uninhabited planet and develop their black goo.
Yep.
So the engineers could come back. They may never have gone. Maybe they just, killed the equivalent of Boise, Idaho, and there's another planet that's like the New York of engineers.
Yeah,
there could
be. So we don't know.
We don't know.
A lot more questions. But
I want the engineers to come back, though. I want some more engineering stuff.
Yeah, because we don't. I mean, as far as we know, they're gone by the time the original Alien comes on. I mean, we saw the body of the one in the ship.
In
the space jockey.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't know. We have no idea.
Yeah,
if they're
that's
gone.
what I mean. Oh, that's true.
During the events of aliens, there could be
the universe is pretty big. We don't know.
There could be another engineer. The home world, 10 trillion light years away, that has no idea. A renegade shipment of their black goo. Maybe that shipment that was on LV-426 was some guy going, I'm going to do something crazy. And they go, no. And they chase him and he gets away. And then he crashes. And that's what, we don't know.
We don't know yet. We don't know.
I see a Netflix having a show called The Engineers. It's like the wacky comedy when the black goo goes awry. Did you feed it to the dog again? Yes. It's all possible. Now, if I had my way, if I had one little vial of the goo, I would take a little road trip and I would feed it to...
Medication time. Medication time.
We ran out of time. I will tell you next week.
The 9 Billion Names of Pod was conceived, written, and performed by Michael Reed and Dan Bauman, with Abdul Beni Hassan as the sound of splintering wood. Research, transportation, and exasperated looks by Courtney Lohner. Technical assistance by Cubase, Pro Tools, Skynet, QLab, DFUD, Big Brother, and Eddie, or Shipboard Computer. Financial consideration provided by the Wayne Foundation, Stark Industries, the Bronner Brothers, and LexCorp. Legal counsel by the Office of Howard and Fine. And what did we learn? Never take a shower in a horror movie.
Nope.
Our intro music was written by Tim Akers. This podcast is sponsored by Deep Shag Records and is a production of Audio Primate. Throw us a couple stars on iTunes, why don't you? Listen, watch on YouTube, listen on SoundCloud, stream us on Stitcher, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or email us, comlink@billionpod.com. Until this happens again, I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm Michael Reed.
Hello, Z!
Audio Primate.